So welcome to Live at the Hive, everybody. I'm Dan Nedelko.
And Courtney Castle.
Oh, yeah, and me. Andrew Webb.
Can't get the guy to pay attention for
on the ball over there.
For 5 seconds.
Anyway, well, welcome to this very hot Friday edition of Live at the Hive.
It is. It's 30 degrees Celsius for our American friends. I believe that's about 85 degrees, I think.
Yeah.
Andrew, you might want to slide over just a smidge.
Get up in here.
There we go. Now we're centered a little bit better.
Yeah, and you may notice I'm sporting some swag for True North today. I just want to give a shout out to Communitech. Thank you for my swag pack. True North is a free festival that's coming up here in downtown Kitchener, and it's all about DTK love and just giving back to the community. And there's some live music and a lot of events and things like that. I just won the Instagram contest. I really don't have anything to do with it. It just sounds like a great festival that's coming up.
Humble brag.
And yeah, I won. It's my first Instagram contest I've won. I'm very excited.
What did you do to win?
I commented and tagged 2 friends.
Bam.
Contesting works, folks.
Did you have that fixed? Did you talk to like Andy Dedlow or something and be like, hey, Andy?
I don't know if Andy was the one choosing the winners. If you were, thank you. But if you weren't, now I have my socks, part of my swag bag, goat socks. I'm very excited.
I still think the analogy is greatest of all time. I think that's the connection.
I don't know. Communitech, can you confirm? Did you pick goat because it was really trendy or because of the acronym? We can't decide, or maybe it was both.
Or we have no clue. Basically, that's what it comes down
to.
To
debunk this brand, and it's really become a discussion point. But
Keeps us
yeah,
up at night.
it's a pretty baller swag bag. That's for sure. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you very much for that.
Nice.
But and also in other big news, today is May 25th, and for all of you that know, it is GDPR Compliance Day. So, we had balloons and cake in the office. I was very excited. I'm just kidding.
We're the only ones celebrating GDPR.
I'm just kidding. We've been prepping for it for a while, so it's not news to us, but we will get into a bit of that. We've covered it in the past, but we'll just do a bit of a review.
Well, I don't even think I told you, but have a look at this. Look at our GDPR branding.
Ooh.
We're fully and on every screen. Here, I'll show you this one quickly too.
Wow.
Look at that. Look at our GDPR. Boom.
There. Beautiful.
I took that off of Google Images. I think it's Creative Commons. I'm pretty sure.
He thinks it's Creative Commons.
I was rushing. I was rushing to get this stuff done.
Anyway, the point is GDPR is now in full effect as it's May 25th. We will go a bit into that in the roundtable. There is another episode. About 3 episodes ago, we did go into it quite in depth in terms of just the different elements of compliance and things like that. And perhaps one of the honeypotters watching can throw our GDPR blog post link from Honeypot into the comments and pin that for us, just so that if anyone is like, what is GDPR? I didn't hear about this. If you want to take a look at our blog post written by Andrew, actually. So he will tell you guys step by step how you can be compliant and the breakdown of what exactly GDPR means for you and your marketing.
Someone who just commented. Actually, just commented in our Skype group, but Neera just said, and she didn't do it in the comments, so I'm outing this from our private
outing
group.
You, Neera.
We are actually all wearing gray today. So as you're not seeing anything strange, we all are wearing some variant of gray and black.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
I was going to wear a yellow shirt today, by the way. I didn't want to steal the show, so I went with gray.
That's the next level of Live at the Hive. We now have wardrobe and makeup. Someone who themes
I actually
us.
do have makeup in my backpack.
Don't say that.
Look, listen, though, that's what actors do, Like when you're on camera, it adds 10 years, so you gotta, do that stuff up.
All right,
I was in theater in school.
So was
I was in musicals.
Were
and
you in
stuff.
the High School Musical too?
I was in Harvey, the play Harvey.
Yeah.
I was in Jesus Christ Superstar.
I want to see footage of that.
I can dance, man.
I can dance.
I can
We
dance.
just need to talk about Dan Younger saying,
I'm not
why
gonna-
am I so persecuted?
So Honeypot Musical, pending 2019.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for that.
We'll just call it Benny.
There you go.
There we go.
But yeah, so we'll segue back into our actual
I go
What's
away
Working
for 1 week
section.
and look what happens. The format goes all to.
But yeah.
Yes, so GDPR is today, and won't dive into it too much right now, but the one thing I do want to mention to people that, I think it was kind of like Y2K. Everybody was freaking out. My inbox last night was probably one of the most annoying things to observe ever. Lots of different types of emails coming out. I think one thing just to highlight, if you haven't done anything with the GDPR, but you are CASL compliant, you are quite close to a certain level of compliance, and don't think that you've missed the boat. You can still do it, and you should still do a lot of the right things that apply for you. But yeah, don't freak out. I know a lot of businesses are freaking out. It's pretty funny. I actually saw, I don't know if you saw this, but the LA Times, the Miami Herald, I think they're all from the same group of newspapers, literally geo-blocked the entire European Union this morning, and basically said we're not ready. I don't know if they got the memo internally that it applies to the individual that could be living in the United States, but
it's part of their plan.
They didn't get the memo.
Yeah, there's also a couple ad companies also announced this morning, ad tech companies, that they were pulling out of Europe as well. So some people are handling it like that.
Yeah.
Others are just going through some of the regular compliancy steps. So either way, do not panic. Yeah, like Dan said, if you are already CASL compliant, you're probably already compliant with the main features of GDPR. Yep. But
you've got some things to do, but again, all is not lost. And I think the other one thing before we dive into our main topic today, which is video and video marketing, is this is like a big part of it is really tailored towards the kind of titans of data collection. So you're talking your Googles, your Facebooks, your Twitters, you know, the big players, the Oracles, the SAPs. You know, that's going to be the main target. I think if you've got a small business and you're fearful for your life, I think as long as you do some of the right things, you're going to be okay. You probably won't be a target if you're not abusing anything.
Yeah.
But Les Romani, old buddy of mine, SEO from Vancouver in the gaming industry. So hey Les, I haven't seen you in a while, but it's good to see you on the live. So let's just, oops.
You mean Les?
I've lost my production mojo. There we go.
He's getting back into it, folks. It's okay.
I was up in Algonquin Park.
Again. Okay.
I was literally hauling 250 pounds of gear, about 35 kilometers.
Uphill both ways.
And well, if I could show you, I could show you the elevation plot, and it kind of goes like this. It starts out like this. They go up, then go down and up, then go up higher, then go down and up, and then down and up, down and up, and up a little higher, then down and up, and down and up, and down and up, and down, and then up, and then you're at the site. It was awesome.
Yeah. So don't plan that route if you're going into Algonquin.
No, it's the only way to get to the particular lake we were going to, but yeah, we weren't light on the portages, that's for sure. So let's flip over here to our main agenda.
So we're going to start off, just segue into our what's working for this week. So we did want to talk to you guys about video marketing. We kind of mentioned video marketing in the past. It is a big part of what we get asked about and what we do at Honeypot. But basically, a lot of the question is not so much in the production side, but more so in the marketing itself, like the distribution. Once I have this video, what do I do with it? How do I get it to drive leads and sales and brand awareness and all that great stuff?
Yep.
So we just wanted to go through a couple examples that we have for you guys. One in particular is a video that we produced just this month, actually. And it was for a live event, basically, that we were putting out. It's called Maker Expo, and it's here in Kitchener-Waterloo in June 2nd and 3rd. And yeah, basically working with one of the larger artists that are going to be at the show, and just wanted to build brand awareness, build awareness that the event is happening, that the location of the event has changed this year, different elements like that. And basically, how can we do this playfully beyond a post that just says we're going to be at Maker Expo? You know, how do you actually generate interest with it? And that's why video is such a great tool for storytelling. It's just the music with the visual and everything plays together so well. It's just, you know, it just works so much better than just a straight up blog post or things like that to tell a story.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the key things about, you know, video, and you can see it on Facebook, for example, and many years ago we were working with Vidyard before Vidyard was pre-funding and everything, and we did a content strategy with them, and one of the key themes we came out that video is the future of the internet. And as you can see, it is. Facebook is really doubling down on video and stories. You know, I actually saw a funny thing that I found to be fascinating is that Netflix has the same market cap at $151 billion as Disney does. Now, keep in mind, Disney is about 100 years old, and Netflix is what, 10? Like, that's the rapid rate of growth that you're seeing with video, right? And it's pretty astonishing if you look at your phone capability to be able to play this. So yeah, it almost becomes a natural fit to say, you know, snackable video that's going to be engaging that I can distribute is a real key to success. And this one as a smaller events, right, and at Maker Expo has been very well received by the audience. I know it's one of Courtney's babies. She put a lot of work into this. So
the video itself, I like it as an example because video people tend to think production, you know, immediately. I can't afford to produce video. Video is too expensive. And depending on the format and the video style that you're going for in particular, it's really not. This video that we're about to show you actually took less than 10 hours from shooting and editing to distribution. So, you know, it was a fairly, yes, it was shot on a DSLR, but you can also do video shoots on your phone and things like that. There are other ways, you know, yes, you may compensate some sort of quality and you may have to use some tips and tricks that we'll give you a little later, but definitely in this day and age, people are a lot more forgiving, as we've said in the past, of visual quality and things like that. It's really the audio that you have to be very picky with, but yeah, we're just going to give you a little preview of the
absolutely.
video.
And just wanted to say hi to Michelle, Amy, and David Daniloff, who also joined the stream. Welcome. I don't think I've seen you guys here before.
Welcome.
Just one other point to Courtney's point. This I would consider kind of a mid-range video, so there's some skill that's involved in terms of lighting and shooting and DSLR and editing after the fact. There is a great post that Vidyard put together with Taylor Jackson, the local photographer here in town, where he's walking around the Vidyard HQ that has really nice big windows, and he does a video on how to shoot with a smartphone and how to shoot quality, because you can actually shoot quality if you do all the right things with a smartphone, but you have to be aware of a couple of things, sound being one, but there's some inexpensive tricks that you can use to actually make that happen. Oh, so fun fact. Okay, thanks, Megan. She totally corrected me. Netflix is 20 years old. Okay. Still
younger than Disney, but there you go, Megan.
Yes, yes. Well, when Netflix started, you would order your DVDs and you'd get them in the mail. That was their, I don't know if you guys knew that, but that was the original business model.
So they were like
mail?
a Blockbuster competitor when they started?
Yeah. You would order your movies and then you would just be able to return envelope and put them in. Yeah.
We should do a poll to see how many of our viewers actually know what Blockbuster is.
I mean, I still remember the days when like go into Blockbuster, and Blockbuster was, hey, we're totally getting off topic again, but Blockbuster was this thing that could not be defeated. It was such a huge chain at one point, and it was actually, from a business perspective, I think when Carl Icahn got involved, because he's kind of evil. He's an activist investor. No, they had something like 1,600 locations. It was huge. I mean, it might even be a lot more than that. I'm sure that Megan will correct me any moment now as she fact checks. No, but I appreciate that. I'm just teasing.
I was in it for the candy, to be honest.
But from the perspective of Netflix, before we dive into the actual videos, one of the things that's really interesting, if you ever get a chance to watch the show, I think you can find it on CBC because it was Gian Gomeshi. It was Q, was the name of the show. But he did an excellent interview with Reid Hoffman, who is the CEO of Netflix, talking about like the technology that they created was pretty astounding, but also how consumption of video changed completely and how they struggled for a lot of years because nobody accepted it. And now it's starting to come around. So anyways, not to get completely off topic, my point is that as we watch this video, and please pardon the audio, it might not be the best. We're not using the audio line-in feed. We're just gonna basically hold a microphone up to a speaker. But you will get a chance to see what that looks like. So here we go. Let me go full screen. Yeah, you get Cool. There we go. That actually, I think, played not too badly, all things considered. So tell us a little bit about this video and what your strategy was, Cora.
Yeah, so breaking down this video, there are some core key elements to the production of your video that you should be considering when you are producing it in terms of distribution, even before you get to the point of creating posts and uploading to YouTube and things like that. There are different elements that you can see. While it is a super quick teaser video, there is no audio to it aside from obviously the music overlay, but there are a couple, I would say 5 or so different elements. First and foremost, the product, so to speak, or the service is showcased predominantly. Like Drew himself is his own product. He is an artist and a performer and an entertainer. So very much having those facial expressions and things like that in the video itself to showcase him and his personality. And also the fact that there is a face in the first 3 to 5 seconds of the video itself is actually proven to convert better and produce more video views on social media as well. So just selecting the framing and the sequencing and the different elements of it, as well as having that audio and the sounds, the idea all stemmed from that very specific sound of a balloon twisting and someone squeaking and twisting a balloon. I think anyone could hear that sound and they know what it is, and it's that immediate audio recognition. So that's kind of where the creative idea came from. And then we decided to layer on, in terms of distribution elements, there is a contest element to it, and then obviously the live event element as well. So as you go through the video, it has a quick pace. Its number one goal is to generate curiosity and make you ask, I wonder what Drew is making. So it has one very clear intent. It's not trying to do 10 things at once, which is a very common mistake with videos. People try to put too many things into one video and try to say everything they want to say, when really it should just be one core thing that you want to get across. And then, as always,
It's for marketing too.
just in general in marketing. And then last but not least is the call to action, the CTA at the end. It's not just a video that says thanks for watching. There's an actual end goal for people.
Yep.
And while we want people to go to what'sdrewmaking.ca and make a guess, and it's completely surprise and delight. Someone will win a free custom balloon creation from Drew, and then there will be a big live Facebook reveal at the actual event itself. So you can see that this is it's playfulness, it's brand awareness, but it's done still with an intent in that our goal was to reach a certain number of video views. So when we did actually distribute this video, it did actually generate over 800 minutes in view time on Facebook within the first 3 days. And we did, it was entirely organic aside from a $50 boost. So we actually ended up with less than a penny per view as the cost per view for this. So very successful in terms of building brand awareness, also leveraging the notoriety of Drew being recognizable in the artist and the balloon artist community. So leveraging some connections that way. But there were many elements to the campaign itself aside from just the video. And we'll get into a bit more about the distribution and what you actually do once you have the asset. So
and I think that goes to the point we often see. I think the saddest thing in the world is a beautifully created video that costs maybe $10,000 or $25,000 that sits on a very sad, lonely little YouTube page without a title and 20, 30 views that are probably from the people that posted it. So there is the creation of the video. That is absolutely important, but there's the distribution, and you've got to put some effort into it to get that out there, and hopefully you've done all the right stuff on the video itself, that it's engaging and shareable, and you're reaching the audience. I think the other one point that's important here too is the use of the sounds and not relying on audio, because a lot of video all Facebook video is played by muted by default, so you can't really rely on the fact. And I know when I watch videos on YouTube just as a user, I don't typically turn on the sound ever. So you have to use the text and that type of pacing to be able to give your message through to people.
For sure, and when we posted it, we even included in the initial announcement post that was boosted, we included the copy that said sound on for this one, guys, because yes, it's all auto posted. When you post a video to Facebook, it does not play, it's muted. So yes, in that respect, your video does have to be able to stand alone. So if you do have, for example, like an interview with someone in text, just make sure that you do have like subtitles, captions, something that allows to guide the reader through. That's why the videos you see that are very text-based and very kind of like a motion slideshow almost are very popular right now, and have been for a while.
Absolutely, absolutely. We've got some more examples, but why don't we roll through the agenda here and let's talk a little bit about the types of videos. Oops, let me just flip over here. There we go. Oh, and by the way, props to Matt last week for a challenging setup for his first time. And I'm going to give you the little explanation of the setup, and I told Andrew this earlier. So last Friday when we walked in and I was giving Matt a tutorial on how to run live stream, I was greeted with the welcome to version 5 installer, and I said, yes, go ahead. And that was a little bit of a disaster, not on our part, but on Livestream's part, because today when I walked in, so it lost all of our scenes. We had to recreate the scenes. And then the actual functionality of the app wasn't working the same way. So Matt had had a little bit more of a complicated transition set. I walk in today and I got the please update to version 5.1, and I read all the reasons why, and it literally every single reason why was the problem we were having last Friday. So good job on struggling through that, Matt. That was actually Livestream's fault, not ours. So anyhow, so yeah, looking at the types of videos. So let's just roll on through.
So the video that we just showed you with Drew Ripley is very much I would call a middle of funnel or a MOFU video. It's not, I guess it is slightly higher level, but it's about an event. So, and it is generated towards his audience and is focused towards people who might be somewhat vaguely familiar with Drew, maybe have seen him around town or seen a post from him, but aren't 100% familiar with him. But not people who are 100% unknown either. So it is kind of that middle level, and you do have to think of your intent when you are creating the video. Who are you creating it for? And that will help you to tell you whether you're creating a top of funnel video, a middle of funnel, or bottom of funnel. And there are some basics in terms of the video formats. So for example, a quick social media share graphic or video as small as like a boomerang, would be considered a top of funnel video if you're doing that on an Instagram post, for example. But if you are doing a webinar, that is definitely a bottom of funnel video. It is someone who is familiar with you, has researched you, has probably read blog posts or follows you on social or has engaged with you in some way, maybe downloaded an asset, and they're now going to come to a webinar. Yeah,
and I think one of the most important things, and we'll get back to the list in a second here, I want to show another video that we created. Just to give you a little bit of a breadth of the different types of videos that you can create with an app called Magisto. So it actually, it doesn't require it requires very little technical knowledge, but it can be very effective.
Yeah, video apps are actually really helpful if you're kind of like, I don't have a videographer, I don't have videography resources, but I want video. There are several apps that we've actually used. Ripple is another one that works well, especially if it just helps you to compile videos. There are some that are actually really in-depth video editors. The name escapes me at the moment because there's a lot that we've toyed with, but some of them can be very basic.
Watch it once or twice.
Yeah? Was it?
That's
okay.
a bit slightly more high-end.
Yeah, watch it comes with a little bit of a price tag. Yeah,
some of them are more like a slideshow, but
there's Ripple, there's Flyer. You basically just remove all the vowels from the names. So if you say Ripple, just take all the vowels out. That's how you spell it. It's true, actually. But I think the thing is, at the end of the day, the point kind of is that we want to have a solid landscape of types of videos. Don't feel that you should be limited. If you're waiting for that one video that you're going to invest a lot of money into, you're probably going to be sorely disappointed by the result. What you should be creating is using the layout that we'll put back on the screen. Is consider what you can do with your iPhone, what you can do with snackable video, a 30-second, 40-second. Don't be afraid to test things out. If you're in sales or B2B sales, or you want to send a message to customers, you can use Go Video by Vidyard, which is actually a free app. Using your webcam and some good lighting, create those styles of videos as well. But I think get yourself out of the notion that I need to have this massive video marketing setup or I need to be a professional in order to create it, because you really don't.
For sure. And it obviously it depends on the grade. If you are, you know what I mean, a very large company and you're producing like a commercial for mainstream, like that's a different story. You know, we are talking about, you know, to the small to medium business, the all-in-one marketer, you're a marketing team yourself, you know, maybe your CEO or founder's like, we need to get some video integrated. How exactly is that done?
Sorry. Okay. So yeah, let's flip over.
That was not a balloon this time.
That was not a balloon this time. That is correct.
Guess which is the balloon?
So I'm gonna I'll throw this one up, and you know this one just has, so basically with this one was Magisto. So Magisto has Magisto has the nice thing is it has a built-in audio library that is copywritten properly, so you have the rights to use it. You're not going to get a copyright strike. So one thing when you're creating video, don't just go and grab like Jay-Z's latest hit and put it up.
Oh.
You will get a copyright strike and it will be taken down rather quickly. But the nice thing again about, and Flyer is the same thing, but with Magisto, you just select your music from the audio library and the images from the image library, and you're free and clear. So
Yeah, or if,
yep. So let's just do this. Oops. So this one is a little bit of an explainer video, and I can probably even just mute it because that's just the basic music. You can see here what this is actually the animations were created by Magisto with screenshot attachments put in and then the copy written. It assembles the video. This one did not take very long at all. I did this one probably in like an hour. Really, after fiddling around with it, it takes very little technical knowledge.
Yeah, considering that typically, you know, an animated video, like even a 30-second animated video would take like 30+ hours to create.
Yep.
You know, so 1 hour is really, you know, and considering the investment and how much you can do with video in terms of repurposing it as well, it's definitely worth that hour to put that in.
Yeah, and again, so you've got a lot of different options, and we'll go through some different types here, but let's just jump back here to...
And Magisto's really well priced too.
It's consumer grade. I can't remember if business might be $49 a month, or it might be...
Yeah,
30 tiers are 5 a month, 15, and 35.
There you go. So for $35 a month, you could be creating. So if you're a small business marketer or a you know, one-person show as a digital marketing manager in a startup or a business,
or social media marketer.
Yeah, you could actually really impress a lot of people by making a $35 a month investment and loading up your videos and just coming up with a good script, and you're going to get tons of views.
For sure.
And you'll build that audience. You know, in a lot of the same ways with this live. We know that on a Friday afternoon, especially when it's 30 degrees Celsius outside, I have a feeling that a lot of people are out at patios right now, and that's okay. But those videos live on, right? They live on throughout time, and we get a lot of comments that people go back and watch them. They'd like to see more bookmarks so they can jump around, all that kind of stuff.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it's great for like the image, the one that we just showed you obviously is walking through a strategy that we're debunking, but you can imagine that this could be used for thought leadership if you're explaining a topic that's very pertinent to your company, or even a product demo. Maybe you want to walk people through a specific feature that's really in high demand that you guys meet right now. You can create a quick video in 1 hour, distribute that via social media, and it really just helps to kind of extend your social media strategy. Like I've mentioned in the past, a lot of people, you know, 10 years ago, social media was very top of funnel. But now, you know, with all of the advertising and all of the features that are layered onto it, it's really moved down the funnel as well. So you can kind of start integrating some more, you know, demo kind of content and things like that in a playful kind of a high level way. And then imagine you could link to be like, to see more, request a demo today. So there is room to kind of add a bit more mid-level funnel content to your social strategy there.
Yeah, totally. And I think one of the big things, so if you look at, you know, we have brand videos, just walking down this list here. We've got brand videos, explainers. So rather than explaining the how, so like when you get into a demo, but rather the why of your product. Why is it amazing? What can it do? Prior to showing any of the actual details, you're really trying to get to the essence, how it's going to solve a problem for somebody. And then you can get into product reviews and demos. But again, I think the thing is break down your strategy into snackable chunks. And what you're going to prevent, and we've had this happen with projects we work on. they turn, sometimes if they go out of scope and minds change, you can continue to create additional content, but you can't make one video the solution for every problem. It's you're going to run into a square peg round hole, and that's to the point of not saying saying too much in one video.
For sure, and to consider that video series are great. If you have a concept for a video, but there are maybe 3 points that you would love to get across, break it down into 3 different videos. You could shoot them all at the same time in production terms, but in the editing sequence, consider that when you are editing your video, yes, you could have one long like main video perhaps, but also consider how it could be edited into different elements, and that's really the heart of content repurposing. And that's really what we try to explain to people when they are making an investment into a larger video with a higher production value. Consider that it won't just be one product in the end. It could be divided into different elements for different purposes, whether it's embedding in an email to nurture people or for social media distribution. Many different ways video could be used.
Yeah, so I'm actually showing our Vidyard Video Hub, which is at video.honeypotmarketing, where we keep a number of our different samples and different how-tos. But I'm kind of hovering over this ERP Explained one. It's a great example. We did this one a number of years ago with Microsoft Canada. I want to say 4 years ago we did this. But their ERP and Dynamics and GP products are ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. So they're big, complicated platforms, and this is when they initially went to the cloud and they were trying to explain to people, you know, how you can use this. We created, I think it was 55 total videos, because what we wanted to do was it was a lot. It was. And we did it in 3 shoots. So we were able to have the scripting for everybody that was involved from Microsoft, have it ready. We had customers come in too. And what we did was a Q&A style. And then we shot it in a way that was easy to clip. And then we assembled, so we had a plan, and I think that leads to part of the next start here, is actually planning everything out prior to the shoot beginning. We knew what we were going for, so we were able to be really efficient. The thing about that, and Microsoft really loved it, was easy for the sales team to take one of the videos and address the answer directly to any one of their sales leads, because we literally had a 55-question FAQ.
Yeah, like imagine that you took your FAQ from the questions you'd normally get asked and you create a video response for each of them. So it was very handy in that way. And then we also, from a distribution perspective, went onto YouTube and we created and took those 55 videos and rearranged them into multiple different playlists, depending on which industry you're in, like which problem you were looking to address, so that people themselves could be distributed to, and that playlist could be shared, for example, on social media. It doesn't necessarily need to just live on YouTube. Perhaps you're putting a social post out to a particular company or a particular position at a company that's answering ERP questions.
Yeah, and ERP is a pretty dry, it's a pretty dry subject unless you're into buying one, and then all of a sudden it's really interesting if you're, because the procurement's expensive, it can be really expensive. But the other thing that it helped us do with Microsoft was it gave what is a relatively faceless company, right? But it's composed of human beings. It allowed us to surface the individuals behind Microsoft Canada. So that they were talking, you know, one was a VP and another was a director, and you had the VP of sales, and they were all addressing their different components. So it was very effective from that perspective. So yeah, plan it out, make sure you break it down, and then you can stitch things back together, to Courtney's point, whether it's through a playlist or you could physically stitch it together in another edit.
Yeah.
Right. What would you suggest that people do to prepare for that video? I mean, a storyboard and script, but what else?
So we'll always typically put a brief together before we create any video project, similar to when we do any other campaign. There's always a campaign brief, and that is before we've shot anything, before we've written a line of script, we will always outline like what is the concept. So just like we do with any other campaign, what is the goal? You know, the goal here isn't to produce a video. Like, we need the video for some end cause. So what is the goal? So for example, for the Drew Ripley video, it was not to generate leads, it was to generate video views. So you have to look at specifically what is the intent. Is it a sales asset that you're producing? Is it a website asset that's more top of funnel? So what is your goal? Then we also outline what is like the production outline of it. So like things like length, how long is this video going to be? Is it going to be animated? Is it going to be, you know, real time? Like, how is it going to look? And then we get into the actual distribution element of it as well, which is literally, where is this video going to go? You should not produce a video and then ask, where is it going to go? To Andrew and Dan's points, like what we've been saying all along, there are different elements that could change the video itself depending on where you're putting it.
Oh, for sure.
So, like I said, if faces convert well on social media, you want to have some sort of emotion or face clip with an expression in the first couple seconds.
Yeah, and I think one of the important things that I see a lot with video is people get very hung up on the creation of the video, and that's really the vehicle, right? It's the tactical, it's the what, right? And if we go back to the old start with the why, like what are you trying to achieve here? And ignore the fact that there's a video altogether. You're trying to solve a problem, and video is going to be the tactical solution.
Yeah, it's part of the toolkit.
Yeah. So if you were to write out, I think this is one good thing, especially for business, when you're creating these business videos, is what is the problem that you've got? What's your pain point? Are you having trouble humanizing your company? Are you trying to convey company culture because it's a great place to work, but nobody would know it, right? List out your pain points and then figure out what the solution points to those will be. And then you can start to figure out, okay, now here's how we can create these videos. And the video will then address the problem. Because what happens is, and you see this a lot in B2B, there will be the statement, we need a product explainer, right? Like, do you? Are you sure? Like, why do you say that? What's the point of that? Do people not understand what your product is? Oh, no, they understand it. Okay. So then, I would always say that you should have a product explainer. So this may not be the best example.
But yeah, to that point though, it's that yes, a lot of the times B2B clients will look to video because they have a complex product. But like what is Dan saying is, what about it is complex?
Yep.
Is it unclear to the end user what the value will be? Is it unclear to them how you're different from anyone else who does what you do? What is it about your product that's confusing or complex to them?
Yeah.
So, and it's going to be different depending on different personas. A lot of the time in the B2B space, you're speaking to many different people at a company. So, if you have a very technical product and you're talking to a CTO, you may not have to explain things in the same way you would to a marketing manager or someone else. So.
Right, and again, I think the thing is have you identified your pain points? So just as an example, maybe you do have a complex B2B product or a SaaS product, and you're in a market where you have, and this invariably happens, is you have 5 to 10 competitors that look like they do everything exactly the same, right? So feature for feature, if I was a lead, I wouldn't know what distinguishes you. Well, in that case, one of the things I would say, just as a rough example, is you need to show, not tell, and do product demos. So you can actually let people see the product that you're offering and why it's different. And you can zone in on those elements. So it's kind of that process. Yeah,
For sure.
But definitely beware, because there is this overriding nature. It's that we are making some video. And I think that's the first most dangerous thing, right? Because then you're just making a video, like you're without a focus, right?
Yeah, but to just in what we're saying here, really, it's that make sure that you're confident in your strategy before you move into any execution. And that's really true for anything in marketing, in that whether it's a video that you're doing, a contest, a PPC program, it's just the strategy has to be thought out. You may need that to launch right now, right here, but if you launch that without a thought out strategy, then it's really just resources wasted. So do take the time to put the thought into the distribution and things like that. Don't be one of the videos that sit on your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And although YouTube distribution is an important element of it, and even the ad side of it, but there's a lot out there right now, especially with video.
Yeah, totally. So I think, are these production tips from Adrian?
There's some from Adrian, some from the team, and some that we went through.
So, I guess...
Vetted by Adrian.
Vetted by Adrian. We talked about, the different types of videos, where you should start in terms of trying to solve your pain point. And when it gets down to actually, hitting record and doing it, we've got some production tips for you. And so we can just start running through these.
Awesome.
Make a storyboard.
First and foremost, the storyboard.
First and foremost is a storyboard. And storyboards don't need to be complicated. You can use Microsoft PowerPoint or Google Sheets, and every one is a board. It can be very simple and very rough, but definitely planning that side of the blocking out is critically important. Even if you're using an iPhone and iMovie on your iPhone, you should still go ahead and think that through.
But Google Slides is particularly good because it's collaborative. So someone else could jump in and leave a comment. And, you know, a piece of paper is great, but I mean, it's a very intuitive way. You know, you can see everything all at once. I mean, video is not usually a one-person show. There's usually a marketing director. There's the videographer. I mean, there might even be specialist videographer positions. I mean, someone might be the person who shoots. The other one might be the person who edits. So, I mean, you know, getting everyone's input before you start is going to save you a lot of time and money.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, that's a very true statement about video. It is very rarely ever a one-person project. It's a very collaborative process, and especially as an agency, you know, we're producing a video that's very front-facing, that needs to be very on point with how a company wants to be represented. So it is very critical that everyone's on the same page and that everyone understands that.
Yep.
And that's what the storyboard is great at visualizing. Because I could explain verbally the concept of a video that I have to somebody, but they're kind of like, they might have a different vision of it, you know, as someone else.
And it happens every single time. So you have to be very specific in storyboarding out the messaging before you get into production, because once you get into production, it can turn into a nightmare of tweaking, changing the message, going back, going forth.
Yeah.
You kind of really have to have that storyboard down first. So, because once you're in the production cycle, you can get lost in making, because as soon as you make one change, it's like Jenga. As soon as you move one, the whole thing is going to start to move.
Yeah.
Right?
And once you have everyone on the same board, no pun intended, it's like everyone's there, everyone understands what it's going to look like and be, you know, the sequence and the concept of it. Then you can give people assignments. Like typically there is someone who would lead the project and act as the producer, so to speak. So I do that on our honeypot team. So I will give different people assignments, whether, for example, we were just shooting with our friends at Whistlebear the other week, and we had many, many interview subjects, about 15 of them. So people need to be prepped a little, you know. Everyone that I shoot with, very, very rarely do I ever get someone who's like, I love to be in front of the camera. Yes, please film me. Like, these are not actors and actresses for the most part. They're usually testimonials from real people, you know, going about their everyday life. So
Hashtag is this thing on?
yeah. So, you know, there has to be just elements of it where you provide them to make them comfortable with things like questions to get them thinking if there is an interview that you want, and different elements, and just explaining to them what is actually going to happen as they show up for this shoot.
Yep.
Yeah, and just make sure that everyone has those assignments, and also that you have your shot list. That's what my videographers help me put together, because there's nothing worse than walking away from a shot and being like, oh my gosh, we should have gotten this. Or when someone's editing, they're like, oh, it'd be perfect if we would have gotten this clip. So really, really, the shot list is your wish list of, these are all the shots that we need to get while we're there.
Yep.
And that's anything from interview to B-roll. So.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we're gonna have to skip through, because we're already at 45 minutes. So we might just accelerate a little bit. I think there's some really good tips on here. 3-point lighting is not optional indoors. 3-point lighting is the most basic. Actually, we technically have a 3-point light set up here, because we do have natural light, but we're not able to block it completely, so we're violating our own rule. But you can mix lights if you're careful with it.
But we're doing it creatively.
It's all daylight light. All of it is daylight light. So what you don't want to mix is like a tungsten light, so a standard light bulb that's a little yellow, with a daylight. You're going to get a color clash and get weird skin tones coming out of it. The one thing I think that's the most important thing here is take multiple takes. Don't say we nailed it with one shot. You'll want to do at least 3.
Words.
Yeah, famous last words.
The joke is like, I will do another for safety, you know, and you have to be the person to push it. There has to be, I do recommend there is a person who is in charge of the shoot, who runs the shoot. You know, a lot of people aren't quite sure what to do on a shoot. It might be their first time. And everything from the placement of the subjects to the lighting to, you know, anything, the framing of it. Is there something odd in the corner? Don't be afraid to say, like, we need to move that, or this person needs to, you know, change their hair or something like that. Just, you know, you will regret it after the fact if you don't have that perfect shot. And just the details. There's a lot to think of on the shoot. So that's why giving these people these specific things to look for. Like someone in particular is in charge of finding the soundbite and making sure the subject is saying the right words, while another person is looking at framing and lighting, things like that.
Totally. Totally. Okay, let's move down here to distribution strategies. So we did talk a lot about that.
And everyone's favorite question of budget.
Your favorite question of budget. Your budget can be whatever you want it to be. It can be $0 to
$1 million.
more.
That's what
I mean,
want.
the average low budget Hollywood movie is $20 million, right?
Yeah.
So think of it that way. Yeah, I think we've talked a bit about distribution strategies. Live video, again, I think the thing is the more there's an analogy we talk about it actually at the office a lot with writing. And writing is one of those things that you don't get better at unless you write more. You have to just write. Like, you're not going to magically read a book about writing and then be like, oh, I've got it. Same thing like playing a musical instrument. How do you get good at it? You play the piano.
Yeah.
Right? This is very similar in that sense, is you will become more comfortable with video the more that you do it. And if you plan for 1 year to shoot one video, I can guarantee you someone else is going to be doing it for you. But you should be trying and testing, even if your live stream, I've seen major celebrities and major brands go on Facebook Live or Periscope with iPhones at a bad angle. And it's okay in 2018. It's okay to present yourself. Now, you don't want to do that every single time.
Yeah. And it depends on the channel, and like it's also the variety of it as well, right? Like not every video that you produce has to be some high quality, like commercial ready video. Like I was actually thinking that because Will Smith, huge on social media, but he's like this huge motivator. He does it too. Sometimes he'll obviously Will Smith is in these huge blockbuster videos, but he also just breaks out his cell phone on his Insta and live streams when he's having like a moment that he's thinking, and he'll be like, I just wanted to share this with you guys. And it's fine. Like people get that. They get it's his personality coming through, and it's proper and appropriate for the channel, right? For Instagram itself. So and it really helps to just kind of, obviously they're celebrities and things like that. But from a brand perspective, it helps to show that kind of behind the curtain reality of your brand as well.
Yep.
So
I think like, one of the other things, for example, maybe you're involved in your local community and you're doing at a charity event. Well, go live on Facebook or Instagram when you're at that event and then tag that charity. And there's going to be lots of people there. You're going to get that visibility instantly, and it's the dead easiest, simplest thing you could possibly be doing. And you'll get a lot of love out of it from the charity and your partners and people that you're working with. So think, think globally, act locally. It's like that. Think big, but act small. Well, it is. It's a takeoff on the analogy.
It is.
But yeah, but I think one of the things in terms of distribution is obviously taking advantage of social media and not just treating it. I think one of the big mistakes you see a lot is that people try to get eyes on their videos, and you should get your video to the eyes. So fish where the fish are. Don't put it up on a YouTube page and on your homepage and try to drive people to it. Put it out on multiple channels where people are and let them and put it in front of them. It's a very different theoretical strategy or philosophical strategy, because very often you see this thing is embedded on our homepage and that's all we're doing with it.
For sure, yeah, and there are other elements to it. Like when you see a video that's from one of these large publishers that has millions of views, hundreds of thousands of views, that's not just them posting it to social media. Like that is one leg of like a 10-part plan that they probably do. So in addition to making that social media post, there's probably a paid element to it as well. The post itself is probably boosted. There's maybe even across multiple channels, not just Facebook. Could be boosted on, it could be an ad on YouTube, it could be on Instagram, Twitter. There's also probably seeded shares and share partnerships going on there as well.
Embedded on a blog post and then giving an email notification and organic traffic.
Exactly.
Yeah,
for sure. And to that point, it's like you need to craft that virality. I know we touched on that last week, but that's very much like how these people get viral hits every single week. That is how it's done. You're seeing, as people say, kind of the tip of the iceberg and not all the other things going on beneath to get to those views.
It's the 15-year overnight success, right? You hear about these overnight successes and they're like, wow, where'd you come from? And whether it's an artist or an actor or whomever, it's like, well, I've been doing this for 15 years. You just never knew about me. I wasn't successful. So yeah, and virality is crafted. Virality very rarely is mistaken. or accidental. Sometimes it absolutely is, but very rarely, especially
like
these
we
days.
said, we used the Laurel example last week, and and we're saying there are specific instances where just out of culture and things like that, things do go viral.
Yes.
But from brands and whatnot is definitely a strategy that they're implementing.
Yeah, totally. So I think the key takeaway on that is put your video where the eyes are. Don't try to drive eyes to your video, right?
Netflix, not Blockbuster.
There you go.
No one wants to drive to the store anymore.
There you go. I would love to, actually. Sometimes
Of course you would.
for nostalgia's sakes.
I just want the candy. That's all I want.
Yeah.
Well, then you should have gone to Jumbo Video, my friend. They gave it free popcorn.
Oh my gosh.
There you go.
Missing out.
Jumbo Video. I totally forgot about that one too. So we've got some other tips in here, but I think we're getting into, motion graphics and animations are done on a per hour like that. We're starting to get into kind of more elaborate setups and things like that.
Yeah, we won't go into the nitty gritty of the budgeting side of things, but just some top level tips. Like Dan said, I think that you meet your video needs to what your budget is. If you have a smaller budget, then consider the scale of your production. Also consider that you should be considering your distribution as part of your budget. Don't put all 100% of your budget into production and then rely on organic for the distribution of your video. So really, a video could be a couple $100. It could be, $10,000. It really depends on the purpose, the production value of it that you're doing. And also the style itself too. Animation does tend to be more expensive than live action, and then obviously live streaming and things like that, depending on how much setup and whatnot is involved, could also be more costly. But definitely, if you are budget sensitive, then perhaps animation isn't the direction for you.
And animation will definitely. I mean, there's different ways to animate. You can there's Animoto. There's a whole bunch of these different platforms. That's going to give you some generic animation capabilities, but when you get into custom motion graphics, you're definitely looking at an entirely different level. So be prepared that if you go down that route, that do not be shocked by the budget, because it can get expensive, especially if you don't have everything planned out beforehand, and that can lead to pain points in creation of that video, I'll say. I just noticed one thing on the stream. Mike Dixon had a crying face, and we don't know you, Mike, but on our his reaction to our live stream is sad. All I can think of is that you're sad about the GDPR, and I'm sorry if that's the case. We try to joke a lot.
Maybe they're tears of joy.
Maybe. Yeah, you never know. You never know. All right, so moving right on. So that's our little overview on video. I think there's a lot more. Talking about video is, it's a big chunk to try to bite off in even a 45-minute. Yeah, so I think we're going to revisit this because video is just a massive part of modern marketing and where you go with it and what you do with it. So
for sure.
So let's jump into, what do you want to do? What's new?
Yeah, I think we'll just, because we did already kind of discuss GDPR a bit, and we kind of front-loaded our roundtable this week. But yeah, maybe we'll just close out today with a bit of what's new and what's happening in the world this week. Always some advancements, always changes, always things happening. Okay. Excuse me. But yeah, one of the first new things that was rolled out this week is Instagram now allows muting. So you're probably familiar with this feature from Facebook in which you can mute accounts. I think Facebook allows you to do it temporarily in timelines, mute them for a week, mute them for a month. But Instagram, it's just either or. You either mute the account or you can mute their stories or their account entirely when you mute someone. So basically they'll just be either removed from your stories or just entirely and you won't see their content anymore. So as a brand, you do have to be aware of this. The number one thing I would be thinking of is my frequency, and also be looking at people who are unfollowing you. A lot of people tend to look at new followers, but just the solid number of new followers, and they're not actually calculating the growth rate between followers gained and followers lost.
Right.
So net gain is super important.
Yes. So for this in particular, you don't want obviously all your followers muting you and they're still following you, so you think that your following is growing, but for some reason your engagement rate is dropping. It's almost the equivalent of being shadow banned on Reddit. You don't really know that they've muted you. You think you still have this follower, but you don't. So really evaluate, if you do notice some lags in your engagement rates on Instagram and things like that coming up, do consider, first of all, your frequency. How often are you posting stories and posts? And secondly, how valuable is this content? You know, perhaps just take a double look at your content insights on Instagram, and specifically what are people responding to, and really cut out the things that people are just not enjoying.
Yeah, I think that's, you know, from a social media marketing perspective, you want to be doing that in all areas.
For sure.
I think one of the important things as well is just with Instagram is, and I'm not sure if you guys covered this, but this did come up last week, is that the growth rate of stories versus newsfeed items is something like 25 times, like the rate of stories being produced versus news feeds is 25 times higher for stories. And so this was an in-depth piece with one of the product managers at Facebook, saying that it is quite likely that in future iterations of Facebook, you're going to see, and then obviously I think Instagram follows soon thereafter, an increase in the number. You can see on Facebook now stories are a big thing. You're going to see more of that. So, you know, in order to not be super annoying is maybe lose a bit of the reliance on straight up posting. And we're starting to do this as well. Start humanizing your business profile by using stories and being fun, and, you know, breaking out of a solidly, if you're a B2B, you know, show your company culture, show, you know, whoever works in the company, show a customer, a client, an event, so that you have that humanization, and lean into stories. Because again, to Courtney's point, you don't want to be muted or hidden because you're posting business style content on Saturday afternoon on Instagram, for example. You do see that. But yeah,
it just doesn't respond well, especially Instagram in particular. You know, a lot of people probably might not even have Instagram, especially in the B2B space. But if you are a visual product or anything like that, like for example, any photographers, anything like that, restaurant, like food items, and you are on Instagram, just consider the strategy you're using. And you don't, stories are growing a lot. That's why they've added them as an ad placement on Instagram. So you really don't want to kind of shoot yourself in the foot and not use that channel. Yeah,
and look, I think on the B2B side, you will get a lot of people that have very stagnant opinions inside of B2B organizations. There are a lot of very large B2B brands like Oracle and Salesforce that have got fantastic Instagram feeds. Whatever it is that you're selling, you can integrate and use Instagram, and even if it's brand building and recognition, that you can go a long way by using that strategy, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, and you can see that, Facebook's really, this is like the second new feature in a couple of weeks. So they do seem to be doubling down on, well, it's the Snap Insta battle.
Yeah, we knew when they added it as an ad placement back in March or so that stories were definitely going to be a focus of them for this year. But yeah, it's interesting. I enjoy them. I look forward to seeing what else they add to them.
Yep.
But yeah, and in other news this week, we also had Quora. For those of you who don't know, it's the question and answer like social media platform. You know, it's a little more professional. I don't know. There are a lot of weird questions on there too. You know, just the consumers being themselves. But it's question and answer focused, and they've introduced, I believe it was late last year, they came out with their actual ad like platform itself. So it was search-based ads that you could do at the time. So you could target them by interest or by keyword. Yep. So for example, if you're in a space, perhaps you are a mental health service, you know, and you provide community services, and mental health is a huge discussion point, you could theoretically run ads for perhaps a free consultation hour that you have, or free counseling hour that you have for people, against people asking questions about depression, for example. And now the next reiteration of that is they've added display ads. So just as, you know, in AdWords you have search, the text space, they now have display image ads as well.
Yeah.
So same targeting, same potential, and same kind of interest in that it's the intent. That's what kind of makes Quora more interesting than other platforms, is that people are asking questions. So they're obviously interested, they are curious. You know, it's similar to the intent on AdWords and
yes,
Google.
Yes, that's correct. And I think Quora has a really a specific spot in a funnel, and with all sorts of products, B2B and B2C. I think the thing to keep in mind is when people are researching, a lot of the right types of people will go to Quora. It's kind of where the smart kids hang out to get their questions answered, especially the B2B space. When you're researching complex products and the price tag is, $25,000 to $100,000, you go to all of these, and invariably people end up at Quora. So you've got this really great opportunity for placements to put your brand. Let's say I'm an IoT vendor. Well, there are tons of very, very in-depth conversations with IoT, like recognized IoT professionals. You could put your ad placements within those threads and get the right visibility at the right time for those right people. It's not for everybody, it's not for every product, but it's definitely one of the sleeping giants out there. Yeah.
For sure.
Totally.
And those long threads actually pick up a lot of SEO value as well.
Yep.
I mean, you will find Quora pages just, 20 comments long, and you might have to read through it for context, but like it will answer your question.
Yep.
All
For sure.
likelihood.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and from the ad perspective, you can also marry it up with the organic efforts, like from an SEO or even from like a thought leadership, like brand building perspective. If you have someone, who has an account and goes in there once a week and answers relevant questions, like from, obviously link building, and also, like I said, the thought leadership, the demonstration of it over time can help and really complement the ad side of Quora.
Very cool. This one is actually very big news, and TechCrunch sucks because their ad placement doesn't let me zoom in. Anyways.
All right. We sass TechCrunch good there.
You're just a big faceless corporation now. Yeah, TechCrunch is fine. Adobe bought Magento for $1.68 billion, rounding out. So
Woo.
Yeah, money. So Adobe is not the Photoshop, Illustrator that you knew of. It's been about 10 years that they've really been pushing the enterprise.
Their suite of tools now is insane. I just, I was living in the past with my CS6 and was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Adobe a number of years ago bought a great company called Omniture with an analytics package called Site Catalyst, and that is now in the Marketing Cloud that they have. So this is, Adobe is pushed up at the enterprise, really, like in this article they're talking about. It's like they're competing with Salesforce on those levels. It is really interesting to see Magento acquired for $1.68 billion, and a couple of thoughts come to mind. Shopify is the darling of the e-commerce world right now, but Magento is kind of like this lumbering giant that's been around for quite some time. It will be interesting to see what Adobe does, because Adobe's main thrust has been cloud-based solutions, right?
And they got into collaboration a little while ago too, or maybe not such a little while ago, but I mean they do webinars, collaborative video now. So,
Yep.
I mean, you kind of have like a full stack of marketing technology from one end to the other.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
and-
impressive these days.
And so you could look at Adobe, because there is a hosted cloud version of Magento, and Magento is a little bit unwieldy, but it is what it is, and it's designed for a certain purpose. It'll be interesting to see where that intersects against things like Shopify Plus, and there are other competitors out there that are looking at cloud-based solutions for enterprise e-commerce, and I think it's pretty clear that even not everybody, but a lot of large e-commerce giants are looking at potentially not necessarily tenanting and having a whole IT team around their e-commerce solution. They would rather turn to an Adobe and have that. Same thing with Shopify Plus, right? Same idea. We'd rather focus on the sales rather than on the infrastructure, and we're willing to pay a little bit of a premium to do that. So it's a big purchase. Congratulations to the Magento folks.
Yeah, people are very excited. They're saying, it's Adobe adding that final missing piece to their suite of that e-commerce piece. And it's exciting because obviously this is one step in a large roadmap that they have for themselves. And Adobe has a lot of loyalists, especially in the graphic design community.
Yep.
A lot of people just love the company and the brand. So very interested to see where this goes.
Yeah, well, and congratulations to the private equity fund Primera, because they threw in $200 million and walked away with $1.7 billion. Not bad for 2 or 3 years of investment.
Woo!
Popping the corks at Primera.
If you've got
The
the
other
200
day.
mil to invest, there you go.
I have visions of Wolf of Wall Street, but whatever.
Sure, they're having a good time.
It's Magento's a great platform, and it highlights it in the article. Coca-Cola uses Magento,
Yep.
so
Especially enterprise level, yeah.
Yeah.
That's specifically what it's known for. If you're like, what's Magento? definitely enterprise, large companies using it for the e-commerce stores.
Yeah,
so.
it's got a lot of power and capability behind it. But again, I'm kind of curious to see how Adobe is going to potentially, use this across the board, right down to potentially a Shopify competitor. Magento has had the Magento cloud. It just wasn't as consumer driven as Shopify was. But, we love Shopify. It's just, this is an interesting, when a big acquisition comes in like this, this is like the clash of the Titans throwing thunderbolts at each other in the sky. You walk in there and here's 1.6 billion, we'll take it. And then interesting to see what they're going to do with it. So, anyhow, we're slightly over at an hour and 5 minutes. We're 20 minutes over technically.
I think there was one new. Isn't there another what's new? Are we
Yeah,
closing
I
it
know.
out?
We'll close it out. You know what? You literally, I think people are dying. If you're still
That was
watching.
the one I added too.
It wasn't. See,
Oh,
Andrew.
Andrew. Okay,
Andrew broke
fine.
the rule of thumb. 3 what's news, Andrew.
Do you want to talk about it?
All right.
No, it's all right.
Oh, yeah, you go. You go now. What's new, Andrew?
Well, there is something called the Microsoft Audience Network now, which is supposed to bring Bing advertising and LinkedIn advertising closer together, so it's a bit more of a holistic platform, which is good news if you enjoy not having to log into 3 or 4 or 7 different ad platforms. So yeah, anyway, little tip for you.
Yeah, but basically if you know the GDN, the Google Display Network, and Facebook's Audience Network, it's just any of these large advertising platforms have a group of third-party sites that are a part of their networks. And so yes, this is Bing unveiling theirs, and then it'll also be part of LinkedIn. So yeah, interesting on the advertising side. If you are an advertiser, you're probably like itching to get your hands on it and see performance and metrics from it. But yeah, as advertisers on Bing, as we are, we'll be curious to see how it goes as well.
And it is a big evolution, because for the longest time, Bing was only search-related ads, right? They didn't have anything else that you could go through. You had to go to AOL and do a 1995 style IO and insertion, and it was a bit ridiculous when, with AdWords you can literally, just go do your bid. So this is addressing it. It is going to be interesting to see how we can leverage it across, especially the LinkedIn side of things, because LinkedIn ads do come at a premium. So it's going to be interesting to see where that washes out, how you're going to be able to access all that stuff.
Yeah, but for example, what you'll be able to actually do if you're not familiar is that any site that's in Bing's network is that you could actually specifically choose specific sites to advertise on that were specific to your industry, or perhaps when you've gone through your Google Analytics, you note that you had a lot of traffic and conversions from a particular site. You can actually advertise on specific sites and URLs through it. So definitely part of the strategy that makes it more targeted and just tightens that up, and typically produces more efficient results with your budget as well. So,
Totally. Yeah. All right, well, I looked at my phone and I have 2,000 unread emails because I was gone last weekend for like 5 days, and I still haven't cleaned up my inbox.
And that's his weekend, everyone.
That's just select 200 at a time and hit delete.
Good stuff.
Well, you have your VIPs set up. You can do that.
Don't worry, clients. He doesn't do that to your emails.
No, of course I don't. I would never.
All right.
I would never. All right. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the sun. If you're in Southern Ontario, you're finally getting some of it.
Yep. Get out to a patio, crack a beer or cider or a non-alcoholic beverage of your choice.
Whatever floats your boat.
All right, guys. Have a good weekend.